Hello, this is Mr. Martin, and I'm going to walk you through today how to get started with Adobe Photoshop on the iPad and do your first assignment. So, to get started, you want to make sure that you have Adobe Photoshop downloaded, which I asked you to do last week, so hopefully you have it. Please double check for me and make sure that you have the Adobe Photoshop app, not Photoshop Express. So that is important to make sure you have the correct one. When you're ready, you press on Adobe Photoshop. And this is what it's going to look like. Now, you probably don't have any documents you've already done, or maybe you do. Maybe you've played with this before. If you don't, in the bottom left corner, you're going to press on Create New. I have some recent documents because of things I've already done. If you don't, I want you to click on the Print menu on the top. It's going to give you a bunch of just normal document sizes for if you were to run them through a printer. One we're going to do today is going to be on a normal 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. So you're going to click on Letter. On the right now is where you will name your documents and do the settings before you get started. I would like you to name it your first name, and then last initial, and then name, try that again, name collage. That's just gonna help me identify that it's your document. Under units, it should already say inches. Our document is 8.5 inches wide by 11 tall, but I actually want the sheet of paper to be turned sideways, so I want it to be 11 wide and 8.5 tall. You could touch the box and retype in the numbers, or here where it says orientation, you can just press on that and it automatically switches it for you. Make sure the resolution is 300 ppi, that's pixels per inch. Background is white, and then the RGB color. So we have red, green, blue colors. Then you press create. Now this right here is what we call our canvas. So you can manipulate the canvas or your sheet of paper here, just like you would on most other programs on the iPad. 2 fingers pinched and spread out allow you to zoom in and out. With 2 fingers on the screen, you can also rotate the canvas as well. On the screen here, on the right is where we have different properties. So we have our layers right there. You can view them stacked like that. You can view them as a list. We have properties for whatever object you have selected. And then we have things that you can add in and other stuff we're not going to be using too much on that right side. So I like to view my layers like this on the iPad mode. I'm going to stay with that. On the left side, we have our tools. Now our tools here, starting from the top, is we have our selection tool. So once we start having multiple things on the screen, that's how you'll be able to select. Transform tool, which it won't let me do because we don't have anything in there yet. Our selection tools, our paint tools. So if we wanted to draw and paint on it. Our eraser, for if we want to erase. This is the paint bucket tool. You can fill an object all one color. The spot heal, which we're not going to use. The crop tool, which we're not going to use right now. Our text tool, which we are going to use. And then the photo tool. So to get started, we are going to start with our name. So you are going to create a name collage for me. It's going to be your name, and then I want you to put at least 6 images on the page that are going to tell me a little bit about you. So the first thing we're wanting to learn on this program is how do we bring in pictures, how do we resize and manipulate the pictures. Start with the name. First, you have to figure out what color you want your name to be. And on the bottom here, where you see the 2 circles, you have what's the foreground and background color. If we touch on the red circle, you can pick the color. Now I want my color to be black. I'm going to drag it all the way to the bottom left. If you wanted blue, you'd move the slidey bar down to blue, and then on the screen, select the shade of blue that you want. Maybe purple, etc. Either way, no matter which color you have, all the way in the bottom left is always black, all the way in the top left is always white. I'm going to go with a normal, just black background for my text. Then I'm going to touch on the text tool, and I'm going to drag a box in the top left corner. Now, unfortunately, when you first do this, it always shifts the entire screen down, so we can't really see what we're doing. So I'm going to move that, and I'm going to change the zoom so I can kind of see what I'm looking at. So I'm going to go to 25%, so I at least have an idea of what it is I'm doing. 2 fingers on the screen allow you to move. Don't just do 1 finger, otherwise that's going to draw another text box. Then you're going to type in your name. I'm going to call mine Mr. And I'm going to say Martin, because that's who I am, Mr. Martin. Now, looking at this, I'm like, all right, I wrote that way too small. I need to change the size of the font. So all the stuff over here is going to allow you to manipulate the font. Even though I'm sliding the font size up and down, I have nothing selected. So I have to click into the text box again, press and hold, select all. Now I can change the font size. Can't be larger than the box that you drew. So I'm going to go like that. If you drew the box too small, you can just always grab a corner and resize it. But when I do that, I do have to select it again. Select all. Okay. We have other things, tracking, which is how far you space it out. I'm going to keep mine pretty normal at 0. You can also type into the box if you want. Call it 0 tracking. You have, and it always shifts it down. I don't like that. Leading, which is something you don't need to worry about. Baseline shift, so move it up or down from where you started in the text box. Vertical scale, so I can stretch it out. I'm going to keep it at 100%. Ugh, come on. And then you can also just do the color from here. Auto leading, you can change it to all caps if you wanted, and it automatically does that for you. Small caps, which I kind of like, is a fun tool. Superscript, subscript, so you have all these other options. We don't need to do too much, but you can play around with it and see what you like. But when you're finished, you check on done. Now, I want my text box to be in the middle of the screen. Notice though, since I still have the text tool selected, if I were to touch the screen right now, it's going to draw another text box. So make sure you have the arrow selected. That's our selection tool. Then I can move it. Now I want to add some pictures. So I need to think, what do I want to say about myself? So things to know about Mr. Martin. Open up Chrome. One of my things, since it's already up here right now, my family, at least my 2 children and I, not so much Mrs. Martin, are really big into Animal Crossing right now. So I'm going to add an Animal Crossing picture. I'm going to press and hold. Then I'm going to click Save Image. It's now in my folder, or my Photos folder. Reopen Photoshop. Now on the bottom here, under the text tool, you see the little picture icon. Click on it, then click on Photos. And you have your photos you can add. I'm going to add Animal Crossing. And it gives you the transform tools automatically. So I'm going to move it up, size it by grabbing the corner to the size I want it to be. Don't grab it by the sides, then you'll stretch it or squish it. You don't want to do that. I can grab the circle on the bottom to rotate it. Maybe I want it to look slightly off like that. And when you're done, you hit done. So now you'll notice on your screen on the right side, the layers that you have. You now have a layer for Animal Crossing. You have a layer for text. Whichever one you are selected on is the layer that you're going to edit. So if I want to change the text, I have to be sure to touch the text layer. If I want to change Animal Crossing, I have to be sure to touch on Animal Crossing. When that's selected, if I do the transform, it lets me transform it again. So you can always go back and fix it. I'm going to add another picture in as well. I'm going to go into Photos. I'm going to add a picture of myself. If you would also add a picture of you, that would be great. That is when I gave myself a haircut in April this past spring because I couldn't go see my stylist. So I took some clippers and cut my own hair nice and short. Luckily, it grew back. Done transforming that. And you're going to continue with the adding photos, resizing, rotating, manipulating until you have at least 6 pictures on the screen. Please make one of those pictures a picture of you. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate but to email me or send me a Schoology message. Otherwise, this is the assignment you're going to submit. When you are ready to submit, on the top right corner, you will see the export button. It's going to give you 2 options. You're going to do a publish and export. Make sure it is a JPEG. Quality can be medium. It'll take up less size. Format standard. Hit export. It might pop up for you to send it directly to Schoology. Otherwise, just save it as an image into your photo library, or you can upload it onto Google Drive and then submit it to the assignment page on Schoology from there. Good luck. Let me know again if you have any questions on it. And as always, please don't forget to like and subscribe.